I'm literally about to graduate. I'm actually on my last class, and it's just an elective, and that's it. Like, I've busted out all of my welding. Like, so basically, my whole
Ooh.
story. Yeah. So listen. So this is how it all started. I basically, um, I was like working at this job for like 4 years, like from like high school, like seniors year of high school. And I was like 4 years in, I was like, dude, like I just cannot
Commitment.
work like this forever. Like I know me, and I knew before I graduated, I was like, regular school is not for me. Like, not saying that I'm not
Right.
capable of doing it, but it just doesn't make me feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And I like to be able to have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more like creativity. Like when you're just
Mm-hmm.
helping customers every day, it's not that it's not like a good job, but I just couldn't find like satisfaction out of just doing that all the time every day. So I was like, you know what? I just gotta get myself out of this, because I actually tried a few other things. Like I was gonna be an esthetician, and I was looking for schools for that, and just nothing I was had interest in was like working out for me. So I was like, let me just go online and just look up trade schools. Nobody I know, nobody in my family like are in the trades. So I didn't know anything
Mm-hmm.
about anything. So I literally just got on the internet, found a school, and I found out that it was 20 minutes away from my house. And I was like, this is no way else, bro. This is like a sign to the universe or God or whoever, whatever. This is what I need to be in. So I literally found out open house was the next Monday. And I think I like took off of work to go, and I went and signed up for my trade school that day. I wasn't
Yes.
expecting this.
Is it a specific welding school or what kind of trades do they have over there?
They have everything. They have automotive, HVAC, esthetician school and everything there, medical and everything. It's just a trade school in general. So what kind of stumped me is like 2 weeks in to me being in school, I found I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my goodness. Now that I done found my calling, I'm gonna have to like drop out. Like, this is crazy. And I knew, like, regardless, like once I struck my first arc, yeah, this is for me. So I was like, like it was no doubt that I was going back to school. I was just like, bro, like, how am I gonna go to class, and I don't have a babysitter, and she's gonna be a newborn, and just all these
Mm-hmm.
things. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do every class that I can do online while I'm pregnant and while I at home with her, because like
Mm-hmm.
it's not safe to be welding while pregnant. So I had to cut out all of my welding classes in the lab basically immediately. I did like my math, my English, all my extracurriculars and stuff. But then I took a whole year off, because then I had basically busted out every online class I could do. So it was
Mm-hmm.
nothing more but go in the lab and strike arcs. So I finally got back into school. So it was like a year later when in the lab. And I basically just picked up exactly where I left off. I picked up overhead was like one of the first classes I took. Like, they just threw me into
I
the
was gonna
hardest.
say.
Yeah, they threw me into the hardest stuff. I started with horizontal and overhead like immediately. And then I bust that out fairly quickly. And then that's when I started MIG. And like the first day I started MIG, they were like, oh, you can get a job with it. And so then I did that for about 3, 4 months. And then I got a job. Once you kind of get the hang of it, it all runs
Right.
smoothly. But MIG, I love, because it's just so like easily convenient. Stick welding, I feel like stick welding is very much like the most challenging. TIG is also
Mm-hmm.
challenging too, but I feel like I've done a couple side jobs on people's houses and stuff like that. And we started off with stick welding, and then we ended up just having to finish the job with MIG because it was just easier, faster. We had put some support beams in someone's garage for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a cool experience. And that's another thing that I like about welding. Like, if you're able to find a side job, build things for people by hand, or just fix things up, you can always have a good little source of income, even if that's not your main thing. So when everybody ever asks me like, hey, why welding? And I'm just like, because it's never going anywhere. I can go anywhere in the world, literally
There's always gonna be
anywhere.
repairs.
Exactly. And it's like they structure all of the major things that we use on a daily basis. And this person I went to school with brought it to my attention. They're like, I'm going to go to TIG. I'm going to do TIG welding. and I'm gonna go into the medical field, repair the
Mhm.
chairs and the equipment. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't even think about that, you know?
That's
Like,
such
I'm
a
over here like I'm gonna be an iron worker. That interests me. But now that I have a child, I'm like, I don't know. Everyone's like, no, you can't you can't do that. But I'm just like, wow, like it really opened my eyes, like everyday things like bridges and we were actually, the
skyscrapers.
job I was doing was doing for like convention centers and Ford dealerships and everything. And I was just like, this is just something that I just love to come and do every day. And then whenever, some things are annoying, like porosity and stuff like that. But like once you
Mhm.
learn how to like work your machine and you get comfortable with it and you know the possibilities of what causes what, it's a problem solving thing, but you also kind of already know the answer to it. It's just a trial and error type of thing. So
Right.
yeah.
Definitely can relate because I was in the shipyard, and then once I had my daughter, I was like hesitant, like, should I go back? And then
Yeah.
I decided to go back to school and, you know, learn all the different possibilities of what welding could really do for your career.
Yeah.
So
What
there's
got you into welding? I had major interest in the shipyard too. So I want to know like how you got into that and how you got into welding in general.
For me personally, I've always been in the trades. I was a little bit of a trouble kid in high school, so I ended up at a trade high school, and our field was more on construction and engineering.
Mm.
Pretty much what I did was something similar to you. I was searching online, like trade school, trade school, trade school, and
Yeah.
what kept popping up for me, because what's in my area was Job Corps.
Mm.
And I was like, I have no idea what that is. I'm not even interested in looking at it because it was something that I didn't even know anything about. I was just looking at like actual schools, and I was looking at the price, and I was like, how does
Yeah.
it work? Like, I didn't even know about FAFSA back then. So I pretty much just was like, you know what? Job Corps. I looked into it. I like really did the research online, and I think within that week I had gone to their campus, and they typically don't let people just come on campus, but I kind of slipped through the cracks somehow. And I popped up in their office and I was like, "Hey, like um I'm interested in a trade. Like I want to see what you guys all have to offer." And for me, all the trades that I had chosen were not at the location that was by my house, but
Mm.
after I filled all the paperwork, me, they offered to fly me out to, Utah, and
Oh
they had a
wow.
bigger campus, and they had more trades available, so that's kind of how my, my perspective changed on what type of trades were out there.
Wow.
And I ended up taking a trade. I ended up picking manufacturing technology,
Mm-hmm.
and that really encompassed a lot of different trades. So we had machining, composites, welding, blueprint reading, and I think we were supposed to have plastic injection molding, but we were the first runners in our program, so it didn't fall through to where we were able to do that. But we did do some like automation robotics, and after taking all those classes, I was like, I really like welding.
Yeah.
I
Man.
I ran with it, and Job Corps was like, "Well, where do you want to go once you graduate?" Because it was a pretty short certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Well, I have a lot of family in Hawaii." I didn't really like Texas at that point, and I was like, Utah was amazing coming from Texas, especially. It was like
Yeah.
beautiful mountains.
Yes,
I
I
seen
love
snow for the
Utah.
first time. Like I was going to all the field trips at Job Corps, so they really took us to the ski resort. I mean,
Wow.
we didn't get to ski, but like
Ew.
during the off season when it was like the snow has started to melt, they would take us hiking out there. Like We went to some of the football games, some of the baseball games. Like, I really took advantage of all that they had to offer at Job Corps, and I was really active on the campus as well. And so I really did enjoy Job Corps, and I highly recommend it for anyone that's kind of like in between the ages 16 to 24, because that's the time that they'll accept you. They flew me to Hawaii because I had 3 job interviews lined up out there. So pretty much before you graduate, as long as you get 3 job interviews, they will help fly you out to your job interview. And then, if you end up getting a job out there, they'll ship all your stuff. So I was like, I have family in Hawaii. I would love to go out there. I had a couple job interviews lined up, but really they helped me get a couple job interviews too. And so whenever I went out there, Shipyard was one of the job interviews that they had lined up for me. I didn't have a car yet, so they were like offering me a bus pass, but my case manager had told me that she could pick me up and drop me off to the job interview and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I would love that. She picked me up. I got the job. And then that's kind of how my Shipyard career had started.
Wow. That's awesome. Like that's awesome, honestly. I didn't know anything about Job Corps either, but that's amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I don't know, since I'm a single parent and everything, it's kind of rough because she's so young of like, jobs and everything. Because I was working at night. Like, I was going to school from 8 a.m. until like 1:30, and then I would go home and then just kind of be with her for a little bit until like 4:30, and then I would drive to work and be there until like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then go home and do it all over again. So I was just like I definitely was in the zone. So I wasn't like I was wore out, but my tunnel vision was like, I'm really getting into the field. Like, I'm learning so much. Like, I love what I do. So I was like, you know what, even though I'm exhausted, like, I know that I'm just making a better future and everything, for me and her. So it really kept me going. But now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I want to continue to grow my, like, audience with the welding for sure. And so that's why I'm like, well, since I'm home now, like, and I do have everything I need, like, I just need to kind of get up on my feet and start just doing what I can while I'm here, so I can kind of take advantage of like being around for her and still continuing my journey. Because like another thing with me is I don't really have a particular like welding that I would like to do, other than like something I do want to do some point in my career is like fixing up like excavators and stuff like that. Like something about that.
That's such a niche.
I'm so into that. And so like I have a few like companies, because where I live at is nothing but like truckers and like stuff like that. So I'm like, I was honestly gonna just kind of go up to places around here. Like, hey, do y'all need a welder? Because like, even if it's like diesel, like, I just know that really anywhere.
Have you looked into heavy equipment welding?
Do I have any equipment for welding?
No, have you looked into heavy equipment welding?
Oh, no, I haven't.
So I think it was my last podcast, episode 2 or 3, I believe. I had to go back and look. I had a heavy equipment welder kind of talk about his profession and how he got into heavy equipment welding. If you have time to check that out at some point.
Yeah.
But it does sound like a niche that you are interested in, and if it's something that's local around you, oh yeah, 100% pursue that.
Yeah, that is something. But yeah, whenever I was like at the job that I was at, I started off with the very, very small little like beams and stuff like that. And then towards the end of it, I was working on like 22 feet long, like columns and everything. So I learned how to stack weld and everything. Because honestly, like in school, I don't know about you, but in school they did not teach me anything with stack welding or anything. So I had to learn like weld sizes. Like none of my school did not teach me any of that. They just kind of just taught me how to run a bead in all
Right.
processes. So I had to learn like how to work the machines and like how to actually gauge them outright, because we were working with Miller at school, and then when I got onto the field it was all Lincoln. So I was not
Mm-hmm.
familiar at all with like how to really do the amperage and everything, like on, because we had like the bigger welders that connected with the little like travel welders, you know what I mean, like they kind of were like on wheels and
Right.
we would just wheel them around. So I had to learn a lot about like which one to change, like which settings to, am I working with the temperature and everything on the bigger one, or am I going to change all that down here where my little travel welder is at. So I learned a lot on that job. It was, and they even were I was lucky because the job that I had worked at knew that I was a student. My instructor actually got me the job, and I was up underneath him at that job, and so they knew I was a learning student. So they would offer like, "Hey, if you want to learn how to gouge, just let us know. We'll teach you." And they gave a lot of forgiveness with like my mess ups and everything, but something about me, though, that I actually learned in school is I'm such a fast learner. So it did not take me but like a good couple of days within the week to really improve myself. And so like when I started to get stacking and I was getting better and better and better by the day, they were like, good Lord, like this is just like so crazy how you can, you started Monday off a little rough and now it's Thursday and you're like way much better. So that's why I was like, I really just need to like find something that's challenging me, because I know I have very good, like I'm able to like adapt. But
Uh-huh.
the welder that I got is a stick and a TIG welder. So all I got to do is, get the line and the gas and everything so I can like practice at home and everything. But yeah, I just want to master something, or master a couple of them and just challenge myself a little bit more every day. And that's why I really don't have like a preference on like what job I want to do, because I want to be put in different situations with different processes and different conditions, like outside or indoors. Or I just feel like, I don't know, I just have something about working really hard for me. It just makes me feel good at the end of the day. Like, even though I might be beat up and cut up and bruised up, I just know like I put my work in today. Like, I just don't feel
Mm-hmm.
that satisfaction on just like everyday jobs. So and I also want to be very important in the welding community. Like, I want to be recognized, and not just to be like, oh, like people know me, but I just feel like I'll be able to I want to get to a point where I can kind of mentor other people, especially with like the environment that I came from and everything like that, with no one in my family was into this or anything like that. I just feel like that I'll be able to at least try and help. That's my goal, is to just kind of help people and guide people, almost like a teacher. And that's another thing. Since I'm about to graduate, all of my instructors are like, don't you want to be an instructor here? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's a big jump for me. Like, I'm like, y'all are like, all of them. They're like, no, I think you'd be really great at it. And I really might be, but I just don't feel like I am in a place where I am like, let me teach people how to weld. So, um, yeah, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll get there. It's definitely in my blood to be a teacher. My mom's a teacher, and a lot of people have told me like I would be very good at doing something like that. But I really have interest in like kind of being like a mentor and kind of just help people figure out what they want to do with themselves once they get to a certain point. Basically, like where I am now, I want to be able in the future to kind of guide people in the right direction. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw your mom was able to even come down to the school and try some welding. How did that go?
she was terrified. She was so nervous. Yeah.
That is awesome. Your school would like even let you bring her down there to just,
Yeah, that's
run a bead.
I don't even know if that was like supposed to be okay, but like all my instructors really know, like they've seen me from before I was pregnant, after giving birth to her, how hard I tried. Like I would stay there well over time. Like I would always be the last person out of the classroom. And so once they noticed like, oh wow, like she's for real about this, like I wasn't just trying to run a beat and get a grade. Like I was trying to really like master what I do. And then I'm like, okay, well, if I have undercut, like what could it possibly be? Because what they really kind of did to us is they like showed us how to turn on the machine. It was kind of like, all right, run a bead. I'm like,
Right.
whoa, like, especially when I told you I like came in back into it doing overhead. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know nothing. And they were just kind of like, figure it out. If you got a question, come ask you. We'll give you a little demo. But so yeah, although that was extremely scary for me, just starting out, it definitely I feel like helped me once I got out in the field, because since I was kind of left on my own to kind of figure it out until, if I needed real help, then they would come help me. But it made me kind of problem solve and critical think and be like, well, I got this far, I know how to run a bead. I know the basics of like how a machine works and what the amperage and everything means. So let me just try and sit here and figure it out. If I'm here for 5 minutes, I still can't figure it out, then I'll go ask for some help. And that helped me out a lot because I was able to really solve a lot of problems without having to constantly ask like, hey, can you help me? Hey, can you help me? Because I'm at work, like although they know I'm just learning and I'm just starting this process and everything, I just don't want to be that person that just like, oh my God, I can't get anything done because every 5 seconds she's like, can you come help me? Can you come help me? So I like to kind of, because it's kind of embarrassing when they come over and they just like flip a switch and you're like, that's all you had to do. You're like, oh my God, like I could have tried that before I just came over and asked you. So I should be able to do this at my house. Like I'm very comfortable with being able to set up my own machine and figure out what the issue is. And I kind of just want to document that and just kind of bring people into it too, because the trade is all trades are pretty much dying for the most part. I feel like welding did pick up a lot more. I don't know if it's because I just got into it and so now I feel like it like grew, cuz like when you like don't do anything and then once you get into it you're like, "Oh my God, it's like everywhere," So I don't know if that's possibly why I feel like the industry is growing, but I just feel like it would definitely just bring in a lot more people, and it's just fun all the way around, like especially if you could like work with people on projects, or even if you want to do it for fun and just build like sculptures and stuff. Like I just feel like welding all the way around is just something very good to have under your belt. And there's other things I want to get into, like I'm thinking about diesel mechanic and everything like that, but I just want to really get my footing like good and do a couple of like side like little jobs on my own, because the side jobs I've done was with my instructor, because he knows like I'm really out there trying to like get it, like I'm not just trying to like, oh, let me just act like I'm gonna get in here. Because a lot of people, oh my goodness, like a lot of people whenever I started school like would barely come to school, be there for like literally like an hour, and they just kind of like run a bead the best that they feel like doing that day, and they just kind of turn it in, and it's just like, oh my God. Or they'll just like show up for the first day of school and never come back, and I'm just like, yikes, like that's just so scary. Like I know it's not for everybody, but like I don't know, I just don't feel like it's something you should just pass up on. Like I feel like it's just something good to know.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. I just bought my second machine and I'm having problems with it running cold on me. It's like such a struggle. I'm like, I don't know what it is. And I threw myself out there. I dropped the post of me like totally messing up, and I'm like, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I was really hoping you guys could help me out.
Oh my God, yeah. Like whenever I had took a video of me TIG welding for like when I had just got into it there, and I was like, I posted it on Instagram. I was like, listen, I don't know, like I'm struggling here. If anybody got any tips, please let me know. And honestly, I don't even care. Like I know people are gonna have a lot to say, but like I am just too honest of a person where I'm like, I don't care if you see me mess up. I don't care if you see me fail. Like eventually I'm gonna get there. And that's why like I feel like a lot of people get frustrated because they're just like, because I even got frustrated. Like for some reason, I don't know why, but like vertical stick was so hard for me. Like overhead was easy for me. Everything else was good. But like vertical stick was the only thing where I'm like, I just cannot get this corner joint. Like I just don't understand like what the issue is. And then I had a preparations class and I hadn't picked up stick welding in months, like almost a year. And I got up in there. And that's another thing. Like, since I got so comfortable with like MIG welding on the job site, when I got back to stick, I just like felt like I knew what I was doing a little bit better than when I first picked it up. Even though it's a completely different process, I just felt more comfortable in my own skin just picking it up and like, okay, like I know how to stick weld, and I may not be the best at it, but I know like the concept of welding. And I feel like once you get really good at a certain process, you kind of, and you know the basics of the other, you kind of can figure it out on your own. And that's exactly what I did. I did vertical. I don't even know. I forget what test that was, but yeah, I had to do a vertical test, and
Oh, 3F.
yes, exactly. But it was with a gap too. I forget what the measurements of the gap was, but and
Did you have the back plate or was it open?
open.
Open root.
Yeah, open route, and I surprisingly passed it. I said, "Wow." Who would have
Yeah,
known?
I'm waiting to see like when we start taking our tests, because I feel like we're in the intro classes. I wonder if we take it in our advanced classes, but our curriculum setup where we have a bunch of intro classes, all we're doing is flat so far.
But so with your classes, because at least with my the way my school worked, if you kind of already had like the base, like you knew what you were doing, if you could just like bust out whatever grades or whatever tests or whatever you think you're ready for, they would just let you do it and move on. Like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, like that's why I really got through so fast. Like I was doing 3 welding classes at one time. Like I was really getting it in. Like I would jump from stick.
So did you have a lot of book work or was it mainly just in the lab?
For my for my welding, it was like, honestly, I think they kind of cut it back. We did have like a couple tests, but the only thing that I had to do the most book work for was blueprint. But they also had blueprint where it was like online and they had it in class. But the thing is like they kind of switch between online and in class depending on the semester. And I had a well, we have 2 locations, and one is like where I am, where it's like mid, like closer to the city, and the other one was like all the way South Georgia, like 2 hours away. And I was like, there's no possible way I'll be able to drive down there every single day out of the week, you know? So they were like, hey, just like ask the teacher if you could just do it online or whatever. And so I did it online, and that was a little rough, but I did pass very well though. But yeah, the actual thing was mostly just like in class. And that's why I just couldn't understand like people, like if you're not really into it, like I guess, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people just got frustrated and you're like, you know what, forget it. You know, where me, I'm just like, no, like I gotta at least get 1 grade before I walk out this door. Like I gotta at least accomplish something before I just leave. Like I can't just come to school and just not figure it out. Although, like, if I've gotten frustrated to the point where I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. Like, let me cool off because, like, I just can't get this. And that's really where I struggle with the vertical. But yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you should. ask, like, hey, I kind of already know what I'm doing. Is it possible that I can kind of just like bust all these out and like move
Yeah, I
on?
wish. I mean, they kind of, the way they had described it was, I have a lot of knowledge prior to coming in. Some of these people have never welded. We're a pretty mixed group. Some of us work in the industry, some of us don't. Like, there's people that could for sure pass the test. They want us to go through the whole curriculum to get our associates.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, my whole thing was only certifications and diploma, which I'm excited. Like, I can't even believe, like, the fact that I got into a trade school still blows my mind. Like, it's such a surreal accomplishment, and I'm just like, wow, like, I've gotten so far on my own, and I'm like, this is just something that makes me want to see it. Like, welding makes me want to see how far I can take it. And a lot of my instructors saw that about me, and so they would really allow me to have like a little bit more of a flexible thing, because they're kind of like, hey, if you're serious about this, we will take you serious. If you're coming in here for 20 minutes running like a horrible bead and you're just like, just graded and let me leave, then they're gonna have that same attitude towards you. They're like, you know what, if you don't care, we don't care. But because they saw how serious I am about it, they're always like, hey, if you need help finding a job, come up in here. We'll sit down for however long it takes and call up some places, and I'll even go with you to check out the environment. And every time they come up, they like, the school will
That
have
is
people.
awesome.
Yeah, the school will come, like, have people come up and like offer jobs, and they're like, hey, Delta's hiring, like, like, it's a lot of, it's a really fun environment. You just gotta, like, if you really want to do it, then do it. But I don't know, some people just, I feel like, just allow the frustration, and because it's a lot of patience that comes with it, especially whenever you can't figure out why something ain't running right.
Mhm. So what
Like,
struggles have you overcome? Like, tell me, like, your hardest struggle you've overcome with welding.
um so something that was a very reoccurring problem with the job that I was working at is because it was kind of like a warehouse and we had like everything open. It was a lot of wind and everything, so porosity was an issue. And because I was working on like angles on like beams and everything, I had to really, really get down, like, positioning the gun and the nozzle and the everything, and like having it, like, I had to put my body in the gun in so many weird positions. I never even thought, like, I was like, wow, like, upside down, like, like, how am I supposed to, because, like, you got to get in some really tight spots. Sometimes you got to make sure that it's like even, and
Mhm.
you got to make sure you're not too far away, so you get all this porosity, because, like, if it's too tight of a spot for you to grind out, you got to gouge it all out. And they'll definitely be like, hey, gouge it out, because if we send this out and it gets sent back, it looks bad on us, and then we got to rework this.
Mhm.
So yeah, positioning the gun was definitely one of the struggles that I really had to overcome, because, and that really taught me, I think that's what really got me the most comfortable with welding, is like, okay, yeah, like, make sure everything's right. And I had to get like the flashlights out because I was like in dark little places, can't see where I'm welding. And just putting myself in uncomfortable positions, because school, they don't do that. You're just standing at a table where at a little
Mhm.
thing that just is holding it up, and then you're
And
just
it's
like,
a
okay.
very controlled environment.
Yeah. No, I've had to bend down, stand up on beams, squat down on beams. I've had to weld like upside down, like all types of stuff. So, and then stack them on top of that, which is even harder, because you got to make sure that um when you stack it, it's actually like laid correctly. Because if they're kind of just all on top of each other, it's going to stick out too much, and then that's not going to be they're not going to pass that off as like that's not good quality control and stuff, and it's not going to be a good strong weld and everything. So, and also with structural welding, I found out that your beads, gotta look good because people can see it. So you gotta make sure you got the right angle. It's in there right. It's laying flat. It looks good, and you're over here in a spot that's literally like 2 to 3 inches. And the MIG gun is not, it's not a small gun, so having to like turn the gun to the side, but your hand is going forward, and you having to like weld towards yourself and away from yourself and then stack it. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I had to get a weld gauge and like learn how to use that because my school didn't teach me that either. And so yeah, that job really taught me a lot. Yeah. And even with like the whole like like deep penetration welding, like how you have to weld it and then gouge it out and then weld it again, like I was just like, that's so weird, like why do you even have to do that? And they're like, oh, because it helps with like limit the porosity and everything and make the weld stronger. And I'm just like, this is just so weird to me, like this is so foreign, like why would you weld something, cut it out and then weld it again? But I was like, okay, like if that's what we're doing, then
Yeah. I mean, that's really great that you got all that experience. I mean, whenever like you feel passionate about something, it's such a really good feeling. And it's
it
really
is.
cool to have this community of people who all have like the same interests and get to see the beginning to end, or even be a part of something so big or something so great and be like, hey, I worked on that, like
Yeah.
it's such a cool experience. And it's really cool that, you reached out back to me about being on the podcast, because I love interviewing like women in the trade and stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to say I really appreciate this opportunity. Like this is so cool.
Like,
But you're gonna get far with this for sure, especially since you're like reaching out and talking to people. You're gonna grow quickly. I built a whole setup for my home. Like I gotta start making videos. I have a camera, I have everything. Like, and honestly, like I said, I hope for one day for me to be big enough to like kind of mentor or be like someone to look up to kind of give encouragement to other people. But I'm not necessarily just like trying to do it for the views. I kind of just want to document my journey in general. So yeah, I'm just gonna make content and just put it out there. And if it catches, it catches. And if it don't, it don't. But so far from the little bit of videos that I have done and the little funny moments and the little mess ups and everything, I've gotten a lot of people off of that completely. So yeah, a lot of people seem to have a lot of interest, even in real life. When they find out I'm a welder, they're like, what? Like, really? Like, it's so unheard of. And I'm like, dude, the industry is huge. Like, I don't know if it's just because, like I told you earlier, because I got into it. So now I think it's just so big, or if it's actually starting to pick up. But for me, I think it's picking up. Like, I think a lot of people are starting to get into it. And I would love to like be someone out there that people want to collab with, or like what you did, interview. Like this is definitely something that I want to put my all into. Even if I don't, weld hands on forever, I still want to be like a welding what is it when they just like a welding inspector, just to see like quality control and everything, like I just want to, or I might just end up being an instructor in real life. So like whatever it takes me, I'm willing for it to go. That's why I don't even have any preferences or like the processes I really want to do. I just want to be the best that I can be in every way when it comes to welding.
Right. And yeah, no, that's definitely something that I strive for as well. Is well, for me personally, I feel like it's more building a community of like people to support each other, because there are a lot of struggles and problem solving, like you said, that we do have in this industry. And it's nice to have that support group and
Yeah.
be able to like talk about stuff, like
Yeah.
especially for a female welder. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that, I mean, even amongst ourselves can talk about to where only we could really relate to. So
Yeah.
it's something that, I don't have any other female trade workers in my family, or I mean the real laborious type of job. Wanted that community, essentially just to be able to have that support group. And so it's really nice that we got to connect together, and I really got to get to know you a lot more.
Yeah, this was awesome. I think we had a really good conversation, even though I feel like I talked a lot, but
Yeah, this is all about you, girl. Like, I am really just here to hear your story and, get to learn more about you and stuff, and, and help each other in our journey. And that's really what I think it's all about. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I am going to give you a follow on your social medias, but for everybody else who's listening along, do you mind just giving us your usernames or tags?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Raquel XO, Raquel spelled ROCQUEL, and then my TikTok is, I gotta look it up. Hold on. Raquel _ XO, spelled the same way, ROCQUEL _ XO.
Okay, cool. I just sent you a request. Or it's TikTok. I just followed you.
Yep, I got it. I just followed you back.
Oh, girl, you are quick. I am new to the TikTok world. I was debating about it for such a long time, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there. I wanted to be on multiple platforms. I mainly wanted to just grab my username on all platforms.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have my name on reserve, right, to get it across everywhere. Yeah, no. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just make this thing and then put myself out there. And it's going.
Yeah.
Hey Kanaka, thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't followed our social medias, you can follow us at Kanaka of All Trades. And don't be shy to DM me if you know anybody in a trade that would like to talk about their passions. See you next time.